Ready for that summer girls trip you've always wanted? Join us this July for a dreamy summer escape to Mexico's Riviera Maya and the Bahamas from beautiful Miami. 5 nights on Virgin Voyages Resilient Lady in a sea terrace room with balcony and hammock. This cruise is adults only and designed for the perfect escape. Spend the day in the spa, lounge by the pool, or dance the night away with friends. Don't let another summer go by without an epic vacation. For more information, visit travelbuggirls.com and click the Girls Trip tab. That's travelbuggirls.com. Welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast, the show where we dive into the world of travel, exploring everything from expert tips and insider secrets to unforgettable destinations and the latest trends. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or planning your very first adventure, we've got you covered with the advice and inspiration you need to make your travels truly unforgettable. So sit back, relax, and let's take your travel planning to the next level. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Travel Bug Girls podcast year in review. I'm your host, Kimmy, and I'll be leading you through some of our favorite podcast moments of 2025. We recorded our first episode in January 2025, and we had no idea what we were getting into, but we were excited. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first Travel Bug Girls podcast. Woohoo! We're all excited. We started from the beginning answering that surprising question. Wait, travel agents still exist? And why would you want to work with one?
Yeah, technology over the last few decades has made it easier for people to book their own trips, their own flights, their own accommodations, to see a lot more options than we ever could see before or knew existed. So that's a good thing overall. We really, at least as a traveler, I enjoy knowing that I have so much access to so many options. However, it's become overwhelming and time consuming to do even just the research part, which is really just the first part of travel planning. And so what we see is more and more people saying enough. Like, I'm tired of always having to do everything myself now. I need help. I don't have time for this. And especially the people we work with tend to be women over the age of 30 who are planners by nature and they want things planned well, but they are the ones planning everything in their lives through work and family and everything else in their community. They're very involved, very busy, and they would love to be able to go on a vacation without having to do all of the planning. They want to be able to show up like everyone else gets to in their life and enjoy it. And so
actually go and vacation on vacation.
Exactly. Imagine actually getting to relax and know everything's taken care of. And so, that desire to be the passenger princess for once. And that is really who we end up, the Travel Bug Girls anyway, that's who we end up working with the most. But overall, the industry has seen an increase. What's funny is I've heard several people say since I became a travel agent, when I say that to people, a lot of times they're saying, wait, you're a travel agent? I thought those were extinct. I thought we were done with that. But actually it's a growing industry, which is interesting that there's that misconception, because even though tech is making it easier for us to see all those options, like I said, if people are overwhelmed, and exhausted. So the other thing that we've seen with that, with the growth of all self-service, right, across the board, and think about going to Walmart now and everybody's having to do self-checkout. That's everywhere. Even I was at a gas station the other day and it was all self-checkout. So everything is going that way, where now you are the employee and you are doing everything on your own. That used to have a lot of support, a lot of service, interaction where you could ask questions and get actual help. And we're missing that in our daily lives. And so the benefit of working with a travel agent, number one to me, is having that one-to-one connection, a real person who is an expert in the industry, who genuinely wants you to have the best time ever. And their success depends on you having a great trip.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I think, something that really speaks to why we're seeing this growth. One of the things I mentioned, I think I mentioned the statistic in a previous episode, that in 2023, there was 70% of long distance travel was booked through a travel agent. And in 2024, they were predicting a 10% increase in that number. So it'll be interesting to see how far that trend continues. How far are we going to go from doing everything ourselves? Now, that's typically long distance travel. So I'm just going, to the next nearby city. You're going to visit my sister, a few hours away, and she doesn't have room for me. Then I might be jumping on a website and booking a hotel or a short flight or something. But if I'm going abroad, if I'm going on a cruise, if I'm going, to visit a country I haven't been in, if I'm going on a long distance trip or something that's really complicated, like it has multiple parts, I'm definitely wanting that extra support and better customer service.
Everybody wants to travel on a dime, but many times you get what you pay for. In this next clip, we got into the truth of bargain travel.
Segue into the next section, which is compromising on comfort and convenience. So a lot of times if you're going bargain, you've got to know, like, you're probably going to have a longer layover, or you're going to have that super early 4:20 a.m. flight time, or your hotel room's going to be very basic, or like your cruise is, you're going to be drinking water and eating crackers the whole time. Or, it's just going to be more crowded. You need to know ahead of time that you might be paying less, but there is a payoff for that.
Exactly.
A negative payoff for that. Then you're disappointed because, this awesome hotel that you got for, $50 a night on some amazing deal didn't meet your expectations because it didn't really look like the pictures. And then your vacation's kind of ruined because you're disappointed. We all have a great tip to prevent that, and it is hire a travel agent.
Definitely.
For like, number one, we can find great deals and more than make up for the cost of our services.
Definitely.
And still give you a great vacation.
One of my personal favorite moments from the Travel Bug Girls podcast was during our How Travel Changes Us episode, when Heather shared about her personal experience as an immigrant in France when she and her family moved there.
Sometimes learning from that experience of being the odd one out is really valuable. When we lived in France, we were immigrants. My family were immigrants. And we had to go through the processes that people in any country have to go through to be an immigrant, to be allowed legally to live in a foreign country. And so we had to go through a lot of red tape. We had to stand in lines in government offices and submit paperwork and documents and show ourselves physically and try to speak in their language. We had to do all of the things that any country, every country has some process like that. And it's uncomfortable in every country, and it can be scary because you're at their mercy and they are judging you. It's their job, to keep their people safe and make sure you're following laws and things like that. So it can be nerve-wracking, I assume, in every country. Our children sitting through that were teenagers when we went through that process in France, and we were treated very well, but we would sit next to people who were not, because they were from different countries that were, not preferred. Let's just say it that way, in that culture. And in our culture, we have countries that are probably not preferred, right? Every country, I'm guessing, does. And so we were preferred and treated very well. And I don't think I had seen it up close like that. And I know my children had not until we were in those situations. And it happened both in government places, but also at the airport. One time we were standing in line. And because we are not European Union citizens, we are American citizens with our American passport. The lines are EU and everybody else. Those are the two lines. So we're everybody else because we're not EU. And one day we were in an airport and we were standing in a very long line. I want you to picture a room full of probably hundreds of people in line, and the EU line is empty. So we're standing among everyone else, okay? We are in a line of people that are not from Europe. And let me say that we stood out. We didn't look physically like the people we were standing among. And our little family is standing there in the middle of the line, holding our passports. And the people at the front, the officials, start yelling in French, and they're like waving, like, come on, you, like over the crowd, you, come on. And we're like, who, us, and finally my husband holds up our passport and waves it. And they all just rolled their eyes like, oh, we're so obnoxious. They were sure, because of the way we looked, and just dumb, I guess, standing in the wrong line. And we're like, no, we don't. And then they made us come to the front, past all those people that had been standing for much longer than we had. So my family's paraded past all these people, and we know that's not right. And we know that, we're like, don't want to go with them, but they're insisting, like, here comes the policeman guy in his uniform, like gonna forcibly drag us forward. And so we gather our kids and we go to the front, and afterwards our son was like, did that feel wrong? I said, yes, that felt wrong. That was wrong. There was no reason to treat us that way and make us come first and let all those people wait, except for how we looked. Because we are foreigners, just like all of those people.
Right.
And those officers just standing looking at the crowd don't know any more about us than they did any of those other people there, right? Except for the color of our skin and the way we were dressed was different. And so that was such an up close and personal view of what those processes look like in many places, including our own country here. So now we all in our family have a very different perspective when people start talking about immigration and racism and things like that. We have a very different take than even, honestly, our own family members and neighbors and friends have, who've never moved anywhere, gone anywhere different than where they are. And not judging them for that, but we've had different life experiences, and it colors how we look at the world now.
With so many cruise line options, navigating your cruise planning can be overwhelming. In our cruise episodes, Heather called out cruise lines for their confusing pricing, and we got into the real nitty-gritty on cruising.
So I found some fun facts about cruise lines I thought was interesting. So the first pool on a cruise line was in 1906.
Oh,
surprisingly, yes. It was on the Adriatic, which was a White Star Line cruise ship, but it was not like on the top. It was like in the middle of the ship. So it was basically like a oversized, like an indoor oversized Spock tub kind of thing. Not like a pool that we would be thinking of. And now the largest pool on a cruise ship is a 40,000 gallon pool, and it is on Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas, and it's one of 7 pools on the ship, so it's not even the only pool. So 40,000 gallons is huge.
Recently the largest ship ever made.
And if you ever see a picture of it docked with any of the other cruise ships next to it, I mean, it makes every other cruise ship look like so puny, which is something that we're going to talk about, something that you'll want to consider when you're choosing a cruise line.
Like find 3 cruises that fit what you're looking for, and then maybe your price is the one that sets one above the other, because there's so many things that go into price, and there's a lot of hidden fees, a lot of hidden expenses in cruising in the industry. It's like a standard now, and it's like everyone's accepted it, so now it's a common practice. So it's important to know that ahead of time and not choose your cruise line based on price from the beginning. So a lot of people have heard rumors and have repeated this rumor over and over until they think it's true that Carnival is the cheapest option. And that's not always true. I'm not saying anything negative about Carnival. Carnival's great for what it's designed for, but it's not always the cheapest. It just sometimes looks like it at the beginning. So if you're looking to save money, if that's your primary perspective, then look deeper. But the other thing is, what is it you're looking to get out of it? This is what we preach in all of our episodes, I feel like, is what experience are you looking to have? And if you've never cruised before, this is harder because you don't really know what you're getting into. And I think what people tend to do is just go with the cruise lines they've heard about on TV or on Facebook, or they just go wherever their friend went. When I say pricing, like pricing should be the last consideration, because pricing is not, I'm just going to say it, pricing is not accurate. Pricing is a lie for most of these cruise lines. And I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but like, I hope that any cruise executive listening to this knows that we are onto you. Like, it's a lie.
Yeah.
You are not telling the truth about what it costs to go on that cruise, because who is only drinking water on a cruise on their vacation? It's their 1 week of vacation. Come on. You know what I mean? And so, especially if they're going on an anniversary trip or something, then they're going to want to eat a fancy dinner together that's romantic. They're going to want to order wine or at least sodas during the week. Who do you not have friends that could not live a week without Diet Coke? Come on. You know what I'm saying? And then if they want to send photos, like, who is not connecting to email for an entire week or Instagram photos of their vacation, right? So they're going to want at least the base Wi-Fi package. Okay, we've added 3 things right there.
Right off the top. Yeah.
Right away. And then gratuities is something nobody talks about, but they really want you to prepay your gratuities. And that can be a considerable amount of money per person. And then taxes and fees, like, it adds up. It adds up fast.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's important to keep in mind that the price you're looking at when they're like, only $300 for the cruise. And okay, no. First of all, it's $300 per person. And that's the base bargain price.
That's with nothing.
That is,
you're not eating or drinking the entire week.
Yeah. So it is not $300.
Solo travel has become more and more popular, but many women might find it intimidating. Kara and our other travel bug girls share some of our best tips to help you be safe and confident while traveling solo.
For me, the most liberating, because my thing, like my saying that will say to anyone, especially kids, is that you are capable. So what's most liberating to me is taking this big intimidating thing, like navigating a new place in a different country with a different language. Unfortunately, I'm not fluent in anything but English, and doing it, and not only doing it, like not just getting by the skin of your teeth, but also enjoying it and embracing it, being present, allowing yourself to have fun, because in a potentially stressful situation, it's easier said than done to have fun. So it's when I reach that point in any given solo adventure of, oh, I'm really enjoying this. Like I'm doing this, and I did this by myself because I can, and it's happening and it's going well. And that's very liberating to me. But when it's a potentially unsafe situation, which I have been in several of those from no fault but my own, there are a lot of ways that you can prepare for that better than I did. Charging your abroad phone is a good start. knowing your directions, knowing the bus stop, but if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And my go-to is to be around people. Where you are around people, and don't be afraid to ask somebody. Like for me specifically, I try to find a woman with children and I ask her. If they don't speak the language, I'll say no problem, and I'll go find another one. Or a worker is another good, really great resource. I gravitate towards hotels because oftentimes they know English and they're open 24/7. There's at least somebody there. But just staying around people and finding somebody and not being afraid to ask somebody that looks trustworthy, that feels trustworthy.
The first one I hear a lot about, you would think it would be safety, but actually the first thing that a lot of people say to me is the language barrier. If they're worried about going to a foreign country, and maybe it's somewhere they've always wanted to go, they've been like pining for it since they were in elementary school, and they really, really want to go. And as we get older, that intensity grows because you start to feel like you're running out of time and maybe it won't happen. But the thing that holds us back as we reach middle age, especially, is often the fear of not being able to communicate effectively and feeling like if there was a difficult situation, I wouldn't be able to communicate what was going on and I wouldn't be able to get the help I needed, And so it accelerates, I think, some of the fears that we have about travel. So that's why I'm learning some basic travel language for the country you're really wanting to visit can go a long ways, or even saving some phrases on your phone to help you in a difficult situation is helpful. But there's so many ways you could overcome that.
The best way to prepare for any of those, and to just any way that you can ease your mind, which is planning ahead. Like just, especially if you're working with a travel agent that is solo traveled, I made a lot of mistakes. So now I know the things that you need to look out for that I didn't look out for. And there's so many ways to alleviate that stress, such as like I never have like access to my phone data when I'm abroad. But when I traveled with my friend to Europe last year, she bought one of those little SIM cards that worked abroad. It was like $40. I did not know they were so cheap. Should have been doing that the whole time. So like that's a great way to have a safety net in your pocket where if you need directions on the fly, you have it. Whereas I still had something, but I would have to go find Wi-Fi first. It's just a longer process, and that can stress you out. Because another big safety concern, at least for me, was learning the public transit in any given place quickly, which I've fortunately gotten pretty good at. But even now, just last year when we were in Copenhagen, I couldn't figure out for the life of me. We had to ask somebody, and I was so confident. I was like, I don't know what buttons to press. So even just planning ahead, knowing your route, print out all of your reservations so that you're not having to look it up on your phone. It could be dead. You could be out of reach. Your SIM card could not work, unfortunately. Although I'd recommend checking it out before you leave, trying it before you're out of Wi-Fi service. Just having printed reservations, having directions of how to get from A to B. It's those little jumps that you don't think about, from airport to accommodation or tour to bus stop, walking that you need to plan ahead for. It's because then it's not something you're worrying about. You're not anticipating something going wrong because you know that you already have. I brought a list we went to many countries when we went last year, and I brought a list of embassies in every country. Did I need it? No. Was I ever going to need it? Definitely not. But I had it on my person all the time, just in case. And that little thing made me feel, and there were two of us too, so super didn't need it, but made me feel more confident. And then that enables you to enjoy your trip more, because all those things aren't piling up in your brain.
We accidentally started a series on international travel, tackling topics like jet lag, accommodations, and staying safe while traveling. And in this clip, we give our definitive answer on the passport debate.
Do you guys have like any secret tips, or like what have you found that helps?
My advice is, first, hydrate. Second of
Mhm.
all, limit your sodium. And then the third is that how you plan your first day really matters. If you're going an extended, I'm not talking like a 2-hour, time difference. When you're approaching a 6-hour time difference or greater, then and any American going to Europe is automatically in this situation. So if you go to Europe or further, you're automatically in this situation as an American. So once we are in an extended time difference, then how you spend your first day is going to help so much by planning to stay awake until after dinner, keep yourself busy and moving and interested in what's happening as much as possible until at least 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Then give yourself permission to immediately go to bed. So if I'm taking a group to Paris for the first time, then I plan out their day and I make sure they see all the top sites day one. We're going to just do a quick run. You're going to go to a bakery and get a pastry immediately so that you feel happier because you just spent 8 hours traveling. Pastries will fix it. Then we're going to go see the Eiffel Tower and take pictures. We're going to go in front of the Louvre. Now, we may not go in. We may not go and do the whole long tour. We're going to do like a general view of the city so that we keep moving. So you stay interested. It's all new and interesting that first day. So that because you're going to be so tired and want to go to bed. And if I can keep you moving and keep you interested and keep you fed, then usually I can keep you up till at least 6 or 7 o'clock at night. And in France, it's harder to, you can't get dinner before 6 o'clock. So I've got to keep you up till 7, really, bottom line. And then I say, go to bed, immediately sleep all night, sleep long, and we're not going to do anything tomorrow until 8. And then usually everybody's fine. And we go from there. And we so far, I've not had anybody have issues. The problem is when everybody gets there and they're already tired and they check into their hotel and they want to immediately lay down and then you don't want to get up.
Yeah.
And now you're off kind of perpetually. It's hard to get on track. So don't make a lot of conversation with people that are walking up all friendly suddenly, especially if they're with a group. One person's going to be talking to you while the other person's scoping for an opportunity to steal from you. And it's super common in certain areas. It's not everywhere, but it's like there are certain places that are just known for it. And if you can be aware and protect yourself and plan ahead, don't let your group get separated, that kind of thing. If you're a woman traveling alone, be smart about how you approach those areas. Maybe take a step back and kind of observe the scene before you go in. I think something too that's debated a lot, and I think it's more debated now because it's changed over the years, is there used to be a lot of fear about carrying your passport because your passport could be stolen, right? Okay, now I'm going to say definitively, officially, from the Travel Bug Girls standpoint, carry your passport.
Yeah.
Do not leave that in your hotel room. Do not leave that in your suitcase somewhere. Do not think that a photocopy is the same as a government document when you're in a foreign country.
Don't put all your money in one place. If you all think about, like, I'm even afraid of, I won't even leave it laying out in the hotel room. Like, I'll tuck it in a sock in my, bag or in the sole of my shoe, and some's here and some's there. And if my husband has our credit card that we're going to be using that day, then I'll have cash, or vice versa. Like, we both don't need to be carrying our bank cards. We both don't need to be carrying our same credit cards. Try to give yourself, and if you take, one of those cards out, make sure you put it somewhere that's not, laying out for somebody to see, in your hotel room. We've had our stay in, we go to Tennessee a lot, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Sevierville. My aunt's nephew on the other side had a switch stolen from the hotel. Like, it had to have been housekeeping. There was nobody else that had access to the room. So now, you know, if we take electronics, we also lock those up when we leave the hotel room. And I'm always crazy about cash because we don't generally have cash on us. So cash always makes me feel uneasy. But, you know, you would not want to be pickpocketed and have every dime that you have for your, you know, your trip in your bag.
Yeah, on that note, definitely take, if you have access to it, then take 2 different cards. And when it comes to money, this is another time where 2 minutes of Google research will go a long way, because in this modern day, most countries we're visiting, you do not need to take a lot of cash. You do not need to go down to the bank and pay a big fee and pull out a bunch of money and then carry it around everywhere. That is not how the modern world works in most countries. So do a little research and find out about the country you're going to. Can I use my credit card? Can I use my debit card? You know, do they require a lot of cash? A lot of places don't.
Traveling with littles comes with its own challenges, and we had plenty of tips from our own personal experiences to share with our listeners, including my number 1 hack on throwing up that you won't want to miss.
So I would like go to the Dollar Tree and buy packs of stuff that I could break up, and then like every hour or hour and a half, I would give them like, here's one thing out of the, you know, and so I'd like sprinkle it in all along the trip to kind of make it fun.
There's one thing I know about children is that they are either, like you were saying, go with the flow, or they're not. So they're flexible or they're not. And when they're not flexible, what they really want is control. And we can't always give them that, but we can give them the illusion of control. So especially when it's something like this, where it's not really a negotiable, you can give them the illusion that it is. That even when it comes to planning the trip, choosing the destination, you've already decided that you're going to France. You can ask them if they want to go to this part of France or that part of France. Are they really going to know whether you went there or not? No, but they're going to think that they had a choice in it.
Like, especially if you're going to a really big museum, something that you can do is go on their website before you leave, especially if it's a really big, well-known museum. They will definitely have children's programming. They will have maybe resources that are uploads, like you can download videos or scavenger hunts or activity sheets that are to encourage children to interact with what they're looking at when they're at the museum. So you can go on beforehand and like show them a video or get them excited about the museum itself.
That's something I do for my children when we go somewhere. Is I buy them a postcard and I put the dates and where we were, and usually something funny about each one of them, like something they liked or something funny that happened. Then I buy me a postcard and I put something real on it. Like, listen, Archie cried this whole trip. Okay. Axel was sick. We didn't get to go to the San Diego Zoo. We went to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park and I looked for pandas all day and there was none to be seen.
But related to the museum thing, I don't know if y'all know this, but like a lot of museums and also like science centers have a reciprocity program. So if you buy a membership at like say that museum, then it gets you into all the other museums that are in that network, either for free or like very low price. And same for like the science museum. So, and zoos also have it. Pack gallon size Ziploc bags for throwing up. Also, in fact, I use it all the time. It is my number 1 throwing up hack for my entire life. If anybody is throwing up, I would tell them, gallon size Ziploc bags. You throw up in it, you zip it, you throw it away. Done.
Traveling with your family is so much fun.
I mean, listen. Okay,
listen, Ziploc bags are endless. Okay, poopy diapers.
Yes, you can do it for anything.
Dirty clothes, leftover snacks.
Somebody's smelly socks.
Y'all, the
Yeah.
one time I did not take the Ziploc bags with us, my son was in the back seat. He threw up Doritos and it went all over my daughter's head that was sitting in front of him. And she just had to sit there with, it was the worst. There was nowhere to pull off. We were on like I-10 in Florida. There is literally nowhere for miles. And the only thing I had in the car for him to throw up in was like an old trick or treat bucket with candy still in it, like old candy still, but that's what he had to throw up in from then on. So now, like, my youngest is now 13 and the oldest is 20. When we travel, I
You
still
still take
put
Ziploc
Ziploc bags in the car. Yes, every time. And I will do it for the rest of my life.
Goodness for Ziploc.
So we all know there's a debate on travel agents charging fees. And most people aren't even sure how travel agents do get paid in the first place. So, the Travel Bug Girls gave you all the behind the scenes info on how it all works.
That is attracted to Travel Bug Girls, the number one thing they want is someone else to do the work. They want to buy back their time. They're fully capable. They're fully educated. Some of them have planned these same trips over and over, and they know what it takes, and they know how much time it's going to take to figure out the right one, and then to set it all up, and then to book it, and they have better things to do.
Commissions vary, but they are not that high, absolutely. And so many travel agents have to do multiple trips and have multiple clients in order to make the money from the commission.
And for the commission, just for instance, if you were talking about you're making 10% off of a booking, which generally, it's not that high. Someplace like Disney or Universal, something that, Disney has 30 plus resorts. There's hundreds of dining, different things you can do, different days, parks, different options that would be right for different people. There's so much work that goes into it that the commission doesn't even begin to cover the time that you spend even talking or asking somebody, let alone on the back end if there's something that arises during their trip. Say they travel in hurricane season and there's a hurricane and you need to be available to help them bridge the gap, to see what they need to do to, not lose their entire trip, or, what they need to do for safety purposes. I feel like most of the time your travel agent is generally available. Most of us communicate via Facebook. Most of the time you can send us a message about any time unless we have something going on, and we'll answer you pretty quickly. Especially if you're on a trip, we know you're on a trip. We are available for you while you are on that trip. If it's Europe and it's a time difference, obviously we're going to stay up a little later to make sure, you have the things that you need. And those are all things, you're not being paid extra to do those things, but we feel, we want you to trust us. And that's the best way to, is to show you that we're trustworthy.
I think commission is interesting because a lot of people don't realize that it's not standard. There's not one commission.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we might have a standard commission structure within our company, and that is how money is paid out to each agent. But what comes into the company varies based on what we're booking. So one hotel chain or resort might pay a totally different commission structure than a different one, or one cruise line versus a different cruise line. There are cruise lines that are paying closer to 10%, and then there's one we like to use that pays sometimes up to 16%. And so it depends on who you're booking through. And some agents, the reason why different travel agents or agencies might charge a fee or not charge a fee might have something to do with their flexibility around that. Some agencies tend to only work with 1 or 2 or 5 vendors that they know pay a good rate of commission. And so they're like, I only want to get paid the best commission, so I'm only going to work with these vendors. And that is a totally legit way to run a business. And that simplifies things. You know what you're getting paid. You know who you're working with. You become an expert just working with those 4 or 5 vendors maybe, and you really have narrowed down what you're doing. And so in that case, they may not feel the need to charge a fee, for example, because they are feeling like they're getting enough commission working with a higher paying commission company, that they feel happy with what they're getting. So when we created Travel Bug Girls, when we built our business from the beginning, I was making decisions so that my agents would not feel trapped into that mindset, because it's a temptation that's already going to be there. And what I want is for all of our clients to have the vacation they really want. And if that means what they want is to book something that doesn't exist on a commission system.
In our international series, we realized that passports were so important to international travel that we decided to do a deep dive just on those.
Let's go back to before we even get on the plane, because there's some very important stuff when you're traveling internationally.
Number one,
passport. That like as soon as you decide you're going to travel internationally, there's some things you need to do, and that first thing is you need to go get your passport. Do not wait. Also, an important thing about the passport is make sure that the expiration, that you have at least 6 months before it expires.
Yeah.
You're not kidding about it.
Anywhere. Yeah.
For real.
Not a
like that's
suggestion.
that's a rule. That's a rule.
It's a real issue. I've run into it twice. It's a real thing. They will be like, no,
Yeah.
no, you're not. You've paid for everything. Oh, that is very sad. You're not going.
Yeah.
It is. That is how it is. You have to give yourself that window. So you have to order it in advance. Mine expires this fall. If I wanted to go somewhere right now, I couldn't go. I have to get a new passport, even though it's like 4 months until mine expires. I would not be allowed to go anywhere. So, and where that will happen is actually at the airport desk. At the airport desk, they're going to say no.
So children's passports are a little more tricky than adults. I did find a post office that would that's closer to us than the original place that we went. They will, because I got online to do it online, and it is very confusing, especially when you're dealing with children and birth certificates and all of that. So I thought we'll just go in and do it. So they told me at the post office, both parents have to be present. You have to have their birth certificates. Like, you have to have all of the things. But at this post office, they will help you fill out the forms.
We wrapped up our international series in 2025 with a discussion on the many different types of international accommodations and the info we all really need to know: international bathrooms.
Really it comes down to expectation. If you're expecting everything to be like what it is at home, the price, the experience, right? The air conditioning, the bathrooms. If you're expecting to be the same as at home, and then nobody's warned you, and you haven't worked with a travel agent who could tell you this or warn you about the experience being different, and especially if we're looking at saving money, then you're more likely to end up in a situation where you're going to struggle. So, my advice to someone, for example, going to Paris for the first time is often, let's save our money in these other ways. Let's spend your money in the hotel experience you want so that you feel safe and happy and comfortable every night and every morning. Especially if you're walking and you're coming in late after walking all day, you want to make sure you have the hotel that is right for your experience. Paying to use the toilet can really throw people off. That's very common in Europe. Now, probably not in your hotel. We started this conversation with hotels, but you might encounter shared bathrooms. And
I was wondering about that too.
That goes back to Kara's point of a lot of these buildings were here way before plumbing. Way before plumbing and electricity and all the other things. So they're not designed to have a bathroom in every room.
Hostels are really popular, especially in Europe. And Kara, I know that you've got some experience with that. Do you want to kind of tell us about hostels?
Oh yeah, I've been in many hostels. They are obviously way more cost efficient. There's a reason they're way more cost efficient. Now, there are levels. I mean, just like anything, there are levels to it. You can get a private room in a hostel. It's not the most common option. Typically, if you're seeking out a hostel, you're prepared to be sharing a room with others, and you can even choose like all women, all men, or co-ed oftentimes. And what you're paying for, obviously, is that bed or that cot or that half of a bunk bed.
Thanks for joining me for our 2025 Travel Bug Girls podcast year in review. Did you have a favorite moment or episode from 2025? Share it with us on our social media. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Be sure to subscribe or follow us, like us, rate, and review our podcast. We look forward to sharing many more moments with you in 2026. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Travel Bug Girls podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get our new episodes every week. We'd love to connect with you on social media. Share your answer to this week's podcast question with us at facebook.com/travelbuggirls. You can find us on your favorite social media by using @TravelBugGirls. Want to join our VIP group? You'll find us on Facebook groups under TBG Travel Bugs. Learn more about the Travel Bug Girls and what we do on our website at travelbuggirls.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and safe travels. This May, journey through spectacular mountain scenery and picturesque cities as you experience 3 alpine countries with our very own Travel Bug Girls guide Kara and local experts. This enchanting 10-day journey across Switzerland, Austria, and Bavaria will leave you breathless with wonder and eager to return. To learn more, visit our website at travelbuggirls.com/Europe. That's travelbuggirls.com/Europe.